So if you're an uncultured swine like me, and you struggle to win culture victories, it's probably because of the 5 big mistakes you may be making. In terms of my credentials to be giving advice in Civ 6, well, I really don't have any, but I can prove that I'm an uncultured swine, as it's been 2 years since Spider-Man No Way Home came out, and I still haven't seen it. Now my amigos, when going for a culture victory, faith is a must, and let me explain why. Firstly, getting holy sites early on can give you a religion if you can snag one before they run out, giving you the opportunity to get some pretty solid faiths, with a few giving you tourism and culture, which is very helpful. But another reason why you want to be generating faith from as early on as possible is to accumulate a massive stockpile, so that once you unlock the civics for the naturalist and rock bands, you can start spamming them straight away. Culture victories are by far the hardest to get, and without faith you can't get rock bands or naturalists, who both provide you tons of tourism, pretty much making it impossible to win a culture victory. Naturalists allow you to make national parks on tiles with breathtaking or charming appeal that are in a diamond shape. This will then generate you some lovely tourism equal to the total amount of appeal in the national park. Rock bands, also costing faith, are an absolute game changer. You can send them over to another Civ's territory and they will play some sweet tunes that then attract tourists to your country. So the aim is to generate as much faith as humanly possible, so that once you unlock the Cold War Civic, you can spam rock bands and get you some tourism. Rock bands are also notorious for disbanding, meaning that they won't generate you tourism, so you want to have plenty of bands just in case this happens. Golden faith can also be used to purchase great persons such as writers, musicians, the list goes on, which will help you generate more culture and tourism. You know what, because I'm feeling generous, if this video gets 100 likes, I'll give away a $10 gift card code to a lucky viewer in my next video. Comment down below what type of gift card I should give away. Now, probably the most neglected yield when people go for a culture victory is of course production. Production is vital for culture victories, as you need it to build wonders for the bonuses, the tourism, and the adjacency bonuses they provide theta squares. Because we all know how painful it is when you go to make a wonder and it says it will take 50 turns to complete. When going for a culture victory, you also need lots of production to make buildings such as amphitheaters and museums, because they're going to be your biggest source of culture and tourism. So if you're not focusing on making production powerhouse cities, then it will really kick you in the donga when you realize how long it takes to make these buildings. So our fix to this is planning out your cities and making aqueducts and dams that provide crazy adjacency bonuses to industrial zones, ultimately making your cities production powerhouses and allowing us to generate way more tourism through wonders, districts, and buildings. Before we continue, this video is sponsored by absolutely nobody, so like and sub. One tremendously big mistake I've been a culprit of many times in the past, and sadly the present, is neglecting science when you're going for a culture victory. Ain't nothing more sad than this.
Oh no.
Now theoretically, you could still completely neglect science and put all of your time and energy towards culture and still win a culture victory, but this will make your life a lot harder. But there are 3 main reasons why you need to make sure that you at least have a campus in every second city as a bare minimum. Firstly, you need science to be able to research new techs and unlock buildings, districts, and wonders that are helpful for a culture victory. It is also going to allow you to get the tech for flight, which will give you extra tourism for certain improved tiles, as well as walls and wonders. Secondly, if you're way behind in science, assuming that you're playing at least Emperor or above, you will be absolutely wrecked by the AI with their modern armies of death robots while you're still fighting with sticks and stone. Thirdly, if you make enough campuses to generate enough science to keep up with the AI, it will also give you the chance to switch from a culture victory to a science victory if you're worried that they're gonna finish the space race before you achieve a culture victory. These 2 victory types also go very much hand in hand, as they both require strong production, which you should have assuming you followed the second tip, which was prioritizing production. Now the next mistake is building up before you spread wide, and no, it's probably not what you're thinking. What I mean is you pretty much want to dedicate the first 100 turns to settling as much land as possible. Ideally, if you can get 10 cities within the first 100 turns, that gives you a very strong likelihood of winning. Another reason why you should focus on settling early on instead of building up cities is because space to settle is limited, and if you leave space vacant, then the AI will chew it up very quick, and you can make districts and buildings at any time. However, the time frame you have to settle is a lot less, meaning that you should take advantage of this and settle while you still have the chance. Now, if I were to give you a roadmap of what you should do when, it would look something like this. Assuming you're on standard speed, the first 100 turns is a period in which you want to settle as many cities as humanly possible, whilst making sure you're making some army to defend against AI attacks. Turn 100 to 130ish is when you want to turn your city into a production powerhouse, with making aqueducts, dams, and industrial zones. Then pretty much from about turn 130 to 150 onwards, you just want to be spamming theta squares and buildings, wonders, literally anything that will provide you culture and tourism. Now this is how I normally approach culture victories, and it pays off 90% of the time, but there will be games that things don't go to plan, but this is just a rough guide of what you want to be doing when, and of course things work differently for different people, but if you're struggling, try out this strategy. Now you might think this last mistake is pretty obvious, but hear me out because there is a lot more than meets the eye, and this mistake is of course the leader you choose. Now with Civ 6 being a strategy game, literally everything you do is part of a strategy, and different leaders are made to specialize in different victory types and playstyles. For example, Alexander the Great of Macedon is geared towards domination victories, Sweden is geared towards culture victories, and Russia is geared for religious and culture victories. The list goes on. Now of course some leaders have the ability to be useful for multiple victory types, but the culture victory being the hardest victory type, you definitely want to be choosing a leader that is conducive for a culture victory. If you're unsure who should be playing for a culture victory, these are 3 leaders that are easy to pick up for culture victories. Tsar Peter of Russia, as his unique district Delavra, is not only a cheaper to make holy site, but it also produces great rider points, which is very handy when going for a culture victory. Another amazing leader for culture victories would have to be both Gorgo and Pericles of Greece. Now both have amazing Acropolite unique districts which replace the Theta Square as a cheaper option, but they both also have Hoplites which are overpowered in the early game, being a replacement for Spearmen. Both leaders also have very strong leader abilities, with Gorgo being better suited to more aggressive playstyle, or if you have aggressive neighbors that you need to defend against, because every time she kills a unit, she gets the unit that she kills combat strength back in culture. So as you could imagine, if you're fighting a lot, you're absolutely going to blast through the civic tree. And Pericles is a bit better suited for a more passive gameplay, getting 5% of the culture from each city-state that he is citizen with. Finally, another amazing civ for a culture victory has to be Sweden, as Sweden's well geared towards getting diplomatic favor, which she can sell for money, and she's also well geared for culture victories, as she can make her unique tile improvement, which is the open air museums, which provide 2+ loyalty to the city and 2+ culture and tourism for each different type of terrain like tundra, plains, etc. in the city. And finally, a bonus mistake, because I am just that guy, and it is to make sure that you have a solid army, especially if you're playing on Emperor or above, because it's pretty much guaranteed that your neighbors will attack you at some point throughout the game, and if you don't have an army, well, that's a game you're definitely gonna lose. Now that you're literally the best culture victory player, you should check out this video to become the best domination victory player as well. Thanks for watching, folks.